I have had countless friends and acquaintances who made the trip to Tuscaloosa, Alabama last Saturday, all tell me that was easily one of the top three college football environments they have ever been a part of. Let's talk about Of course, Texas walked away or left Tuscaloosa with a huge defining win for Steve Sarkisian, 34-24. But that was by far, according to a lot of people I know, and it looked like it from watching it on a very large screen in Austin, Texas, an incredible atmosphere. Of course, Alabama at Bryant Denny Stadium always has one of the best environments in all of college football. Well, that prompted me to ask you, what is your best college football game day atmospheres that you've been a part of? That you can list all the big time, historically rich rivalries, the tradition rich rivalries, what those are. But personally, I came up with a list, and you may laugh at a couple of them, but those of really who understand college football, so here are the college football game day atmospheres that have been easily my top five, and that includes the 21-year media career in sports media and as a fan. We'll begin, and this is really no order, but I will say the number one has to be the one on the bottom right. But we'll begin on the left. We'll go left to right. 1995, I was a student at Stephen F. Austin. Homer Bryce Stadium in Nacogdoches holds roughly about 17,000 fans. Okay, it's a beautiful, older stadium built in the early 70s. One of those old school built into the earth. Well, Stephen F. Austin at the then 1AA level, which is now football championship subdivision, they were number 3 in the country. McNeese State, number 1 in the country, a Southland Conference rivalry back then. Well, nearly 30,000 fans packed Homer Bryce Stadium. The number of NFL talent combined between those two programs at the time, off the charts. Now, we moved to 1990. I was a student in high school. Texas and Houston. It was, I think Texas was number 12, Houston number 3. Houston was running the roost of the Southwest Conference along with Arkansas at the time. U of H, not many fans followed them. Oh, they didn't back then. They played in the Astrodome. But at Texas Memorial Stadium, before it was, the name was added to honor Darrell K. Royal, before it was known as DKR Memorial Stadium, it was Texas Memorial Stadium. All right, it was a sold-out stadium, 77,000, the loudest, one of the loudest venues I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot of Memorial Stadium games, but one of the loudest college football atmospheres I've ever been a part of. U of H was whipping Texas ass back then, and I mean by margins because of the run-and-shoot offense. Texas was embarrassed for quite a few years, dating back to 87. Okay, Texas on the Shock the Nation tour, beat up on U of H 45-24. Stadium was wild. Texas fans were hungry. Texas won the Southwest Conference that year and played in the Cotton Bowl against the University of Miami. Now, 07, I was covering the Sooners at Jones Stadium in Lubbock. Hey, Texas Tech fans get a bad rap, but they are at night. It is unbearable if you're the visitors. Oklahoma, first-year starting quarterback Sam Bradford, they had some names. They had some dudes. OU would win the conference that year, but Texas Tech upset Oklahoma, and the Red Raider Nation stormed the field that year. And that, as I remember, the Texas Department of Public Safety, some of the biggest DPS officers I've ever seen in Lubbock, Texas. All right, fast forward to 2011, Bedlam. If you've never seen it, it's one of those rivalry games you've got to go see, but I don't know when you'll see it again after this year. Because it'll be the last time that OU and OSU play. But this one was in Stillwater, and OSU has historically not won a lot of meetings against OU in Bedlam. Well, OSU that year, they had Brandon Whedon. They had Kendall Hunter at running back, Brandon Pettigrew at tight end. They had Andre Saxton on defense, a lot of big names, and it's just too long of a list. Well, they beat OU that year, and OSU came this close to playing for a national championship that year, but they did win the conference. 2018, my number one best college atmospheres, witnessed the Cotton Bowl, the old girl, the Texas OU rivalry in Dallas. Back and forth game, one of the best Texas OU games ever. I definitely want to hear what your best college football game day atmospheres that you've been a part of. Tweet me at Stories Man Cave. I definitely want to talk about some games that you need to keep an eye on. We'll begin on the bottom. Tom Herman, who's now the head coach at Florida Atlantic, playing at Clemson. Clemson's a 24.5-point favorite. Tom Herman, as a head coach, rarely, if ever, gets blown out. I'd take FAU plus 24.5. Tarleton State at Texas Tech. Clinch, what are you thinking? Well, Texas Tech should roll. Tarleton State, I think they're in year 3 of being a Division I football program. They're at the FCS level, right below FBS. Keep an eye on this one. Texas Tech is hungry. Their fans are hungry. They're off to an 0-2 start. But watch the Tarleton State Texans. They'll at least make a game of this, I believe, and they may upset Texas Tech. The Battle of Colorado, Deion Sanders. And the Buffaloes, they're 2-0. They're ranked. They're number 10 in the stories inside the Man Cave, top 10 and 4 on the outside. They're 23-point favorites. Colorado State, coached by a friend of mine, Jay Norvell. There's already some words exchanged. Coach Norvell made a remark about when you talk to men, take off your hat and your glasses. That got back to Boulder from Fort Collins. Coach Sanders, Neon, Coach Prime said they're taking that personal. All right, last but not least, OU, 27.5-point favorites at Tulsa. But there is a little bit of a bond here, a tie-in. We know Brent Venables, the head coach of Oklahoma. Well, before he returned to OU from being a defensive coordinator at Clemson, he was Bob Stoops' co-defensive coordinator. But the head coach at Tulsa, Kevin Wilson, was Bob Stoops' offensive coordinator when he and Venables worked for Stoops. This is going to be a lot closer, I think. OU's the better team by far. Tulsa's a good program, but Kevin Wilson is building that program back up. I'll take Tulsa plus 27.5. Hey, a big shout out to our sponsors for this particular episode 290, Honest AC and Plumbing, where a handshake still means something. And Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency is a Longhorn legacy. His dad was a Heisman finalist. His late father, James, rest in peace. But Jimmy, his son, carrying on the legacy with the State Farm Insurance Agency. He's been insuring Austin for several decades. Hey, my advice to you, have a great weekend. Happy Friday. And you know what? It's always good. It's always positive when we talk about it.